Hello everyone, welcome back to Push Square. It's Aaron here with our boy Craigo from Pure Xbox. Today we are looking into the future. We're looking ahead to 2025. Every year the Push Square gang, we do a bit of a predictions article. We have 3 each where just what we think is going to happen this year. Some of them are accurate maybe. Some of them are a load of rubbish. You are speaking though, Craig, to the 2024 winner. I won last year's prediction with 2.5 points out of 3.
That's a load of points. That's more points than not.
yeah, that's a good percentage when you look at it. Like, man, that's like an A at uni. That's an A at uni. So yeah,
I wouldn't know.
we're gonna just work through the different predictions that we have and just really talk about them, whether we think they're feasible or not. And yeah, I want to start with mine, because I think mine's are pretty good this year. We got our first glimpse at Intergalactic at the Game Awards. That was like the one more thing.
We did.
I think we're going to see gameplay this year, and I think we're going to get a 2026 release window, because different from the last ones. So The Last of Us Part 2 was revealed in 2016. We didn't get a gameplay reveal for 2 more years, and we didn't see the game for another 2 years after that. So there's 4 years between the reveal, 2 years after the gameplay reveal, and so on. I think it's going to be a lot quicker this time, purely because when you look at all the little things, like this game's been in development since 2020. The Last of Us Factions multiplayer sequel was cancelled. So
R.I.P.
Shed a tear for that one all the time. And so that's obviously freed up some resources internally. And yeah, I mean, if this is looking at 2026, it still means it's been 6 years since Naughty Dog's last like proper game. We got The Last of Us Part 2 remastered and The Last of Us Part 1 remake, but rumor has it this was a lot of like the new onboarding projects for people coming into the company.
All right, yeah.
So I think this is pretty feasible. I think we see it maybe later in the year once Ghost of Yotei's out of the way. Because Sony tends to like to advertise one game at a time, and then
I can see this being quite a pattern with the company like Naughty Dog. One of the things that I did is I just looked at release times from when they were announced, and you know, for a company that's only like released 2 games but somehow have released like 20 games, you know, they've been quite similar with their patterns of release. You've had them. There was a bit more of a difference between The Last of Us Part 2 with a couple more years. It was 2016 it was announced, and then it was released in 2020. So I don't think you're too far off by trying to like split the difference for a bit of a gameplay reveal. With The Last of Us Part 1, there was 2011 and 2013, so it was like half the time.
Yeah.
But they both released in June. So I'm thinking if you're going to see a gameplay reveal this year, there's a chance it can come out in 2026, because it would be like kind of like splitting that difference.
Yeah, and also when you look at the trailer itself, that is running like in-game cinematics, and at the very end, that's gameplay. I swear that's gameplay. Just there's like this little bit where she runs towards the robot thing. I don't know.
The big fancy like neon, almost like a old school like musical wavelength.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a wavelength.
It's gorgeous, man. But well, you could say it's like a cinematic, but in the sense of like what Naughty Dog can put out, that could in fact just be gameplay. Like that could be a cutscene from the game, and it did look very polished. I remember we were talking about it at the same time as it was being revealed. We were on a Discord chat, and it just I remember us going, "This is Naughty Dog," because it just looks like it. So the vision is there. It does look like very polished, and like you say, it's been in development for what? 4 years, maybe 5 years coming up soon. That's a pretty long gestation period, and considering like the patterns, like 4 years and 2 years, that gameplay could happen. And if 2026 doesn't happen for a release window for Intergalactic, then I could see it being 2027 in June. That would be my bet. I would say you're on to something with the gameplay, but for some reason, with like the length of games being developed these days and like the scope in which the Last of Us Part 2 was, and this is a new IP. It's not like releasing Last of Us Part 2 remastered director's edition recut. It's it's not doing a Kingdom Hearts. It's like, this is a whole new IP with new assets, new worlds, new designs. So it could take a little bit longer, but you could be onto something. I wouldn't discredit that one. I would say that one's quite likely.
A thumbs up or a thumbs down, and this is the rating system we're going for.
I'll go for a thumbs up. Yeah, I'll go for a thumbs up. Let's give you the benefit of the doubt. We'll start out strong, right? We'll set the optimism. I might give you a bit of a poop sandwich with maybe a couple of your opinions, but we'll see. We'll see.
So yeah, next up, this is probably my biggest pun, and it's that I think we're going to see an OLED version of the PlayStation Portal. This has already been a surprising success for Sony. I think a lot of people kind of wrote it off, including myself, when it was first announced. But when it came out and it just had the remote play features, like, I still really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the most comfortable handhelds. It clearly remained to be popular throughout the year as well, because then eventually we got the nice 30th anniversary edition. There we go.
The gorgeous 30th anniversary. I got the controller. I
got the controller.
I can hardly play my PS5, but you can't ignore how good that 30th edition
had
I will say, like, for people who don't really know the PS Portal, like myself, I don't find it interesting. Mainly because I don't really play my PS5 that often.
Yeah.
But the PS Portal is strictly remote play, and then it's with, is it premium? You can do cloud streaming as well.
Yeah. So
you can just play your games locally, but cloud streaming straight onto your device without a PS5. So it does sound like a handy little tool. It's their best-selling accessory. Sony's best set. Yeah. It beat a Midnight Black Edition controller or something like that, didn't it?
Yeah. So that's really part of the thing that's like made me think that we'll see more of this, because we've seen products that have been abandoned or like essentially abandoned when it comes to limited editions, like the PSVR 2. It's seen no other edition other than the one that came out at launch. But the PlayStation Portal is now seen a 30th anniversary edition, and it was just included in the Midnight Black thing. And that's the first time we've seen something like outside of the controllers and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think when I look at it technically, on a technical level, and I think we know that Sony's making a handheld device as well. But in terms of like the longevity of this thing, I think the only thing that really could be upgraded without completely changing the device is the screen. Now, the caveat to that is this is an LCD screen, 1080p LCD screen. Now, you're not going to get higher resolution just because of streaming and stuff. But I think the OLED is the kind of natural way. And looking at devices like the Switch or the Steam Deck, OLED makes such a big difference. Yeah. So
it really does.
I think it could be the only things going against it for me personally is that the LCD screen on this is actually pretty good. So it's not like, I don't think it's like the Switch, because the Switch is like, sometimes I think the original screen is a bit grim. But this one is pretty good, and if you make an OLED edition, you're talking £300 probably.
Yeah,
for a device.
Production costs are going to go way up
for a device that doesn't run it on its own. You know, it can't do anything.
I think this is what my big concern is with this one. Is an OLED screen is gorgeous. Like I had the original Switch, and then I upgraded to the OLED version, and I would say it's probably at least the best screen that I've used in terms of like how nice the screen looks. But I myself have an ROG Ally. Yeah. It's like my favorite device. The battery is terrible, but it's great for what I want it to do. The screen is fantastic. It's got 120 hertz, and it really, really pays off. Like when you're playing the smaller games, like I was playing Hades 2. Oh, amazing. But my concern with this one, with being an OLED version of something that's already selling really well, is will Sony think that they need it? Will the average consumer think that it's worth it? And then there's also the idea that this is cloud streaming and remote play. And when I'm playing games on my ROG and it's local, those are very crispy games, but I for a lot of my time I'm playing like Disco Elysium which is on my console, my Xbox console, I will stream that to myself. And I see it. I see that it's a bit fuzzy and it's a bit, because it's relying on my internet connection. I've got great speeds, but it's still, it doesn't really take advantage. I've got great speeds, man. Yeah. It doesn't really take advantage of the screen. So to me, the average consumer won't really notice the difference. And if they're paying a lot more for something that would cost more in manufacturing, they would probably be a little peed off. So it might not make sense for Sony to do it, but it would be nice. OLED makes everything better.
So I am gonna go with a hat. I'm gonna go hat.
I thought you were. I thought it was up or down, man.
Yeah, okay. I have to go up. It's my prediction, so I kind of have to go up with this one.
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to go down for that. As much as I would like it to happen, I don't see it happening. But cautiously optimistic for you, my guy.
Yeah. So next up, my final prediction of the year is that the opinion on the PS5 Pro is going to shift as we see more games benefit from it. When this one launched, I think the issue a lot of people had is that it was sort of retroactively improving games that were already out. You know, play this game from 2-3 years ago, and now it's got higher frame rates or whatever. And it's kind of hard to really see the benefit from that for a lot of people when it's just very minimal upgrades. And in a lot of cases, there were some really great upgrades, but there are a lot of minimal ones. But going forward, I think we're really going to start to see games that are benefiting from like the development time with PS5 Pro in mind. So I mean, already we know games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is going to have, I think it's like, I don't want to get specifics with resolutions, but it's higher when it comes to frame rates and resolution. And then same goes for Monster Hunter Wilds. And I think we're going to start to see games as we get into the latter part of this generation, games that like are starting to struggle a little bit on base PS5, and we start to see more of these games that are like, well, this is the proper way to play it. I mean, I would have never have guessed that we're sitting here in 2025 and the base PS5 is still releasing games at 30 FPS. Like that to me, because that's a frame rate we thought we were leaving behind when the PS4 came out, and then it wasn't the case. Yeah. And then it's, you know, you get the odd one here or there, but I think we're really going to start to see some of these big games are like, yeah, this is like, we're doubling the frame rate, we're upping the resolution, we're including like ray tracing or whatever, and we'll start to see more big games where it's like, maybe I should get the Pro to get this. And I think it's all going to come to a head whenever GTA 6 comes out, because I think that could be like a big, like, I'm imagining Sony partnering this one up, like buy the GTA and the PS5 Pro bundle, you know, stuff like that.
It'd be a smart move. Yeah.
I think this is a lock-in. Like I think this is a lock-in with like the opinion changing.
I would say over time, usually opinions soften, right? So this one is definitely one that I can. We are talking about 2025 though, so it's just 1 year. But it would have been out for a bit longer. But yeah, generally the casual players might gravitate towards the PS5 Pro, more so not as a like because they want those extra features organically, but more so with like social media and like buzz from creators and friends that they know and trust, that they'll be sharing these new enhanced PS5 Pro versions of games that from the ground have been built with the PS5 Pro in mind. So they'll take advantage of that tech, and FOMO will come into it, so that will persuade a few people to do that. But on top of that, you've got like unfortunately for me, you got like Xbox fans that are like moving over as well, so there's an influx of new customers as well, which they might be looking to buy their first PS5, and if there's enough voices out there, it might sway them to do so. But you've got to think as well about the lifespan of the PS5 and the PS5 Pro, and when this next generation of consoles is going to come up, because it might not be long now, it might be next year, it might be the year after that we get some looks at or just releases of new consoles and hardware that might make it a bit of a tougher sell. But at the same time, it's, you know, it's just pretty, it's exciting, it's something that people want. So I can see this one happening. And having played because I'm allowed to talk about it. I've been doing playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a preview embargo that's already passed. So, but playing that on the Xbox, there are certain points in that where it's so gorgeous that I want to see it the best possible way it can, and I'm starting to feel the limitations in console technology. But yeah, that also brings up that idea that because the consoles are getting closer and closer to PC quality, like a good built PC, that the PS5 fits into that margin, and it's like whether or not you go for that console, or you go for a PC. So it's here and there. I'm not 100% sold that it's going to shift units, but I definitely agree that people will change their mind on it, and they'll be a bit more positive this year. I would say that's a
thumbs up.
That's a singular thumb up from me.
A singular. I'm going
a
for
singular thumb up. I'm not gonna. It's just a singular.
Right. So we're gonna move on to our resident Aussie, Cale Adam, news reporter at Push Square, and the first of his predictions are that PlayStation enters an unprecedented new golden age. It's a hard one to really clarify, because I think if you were to say back in like 2019, 2020, when like tail end of PS4, we're getting like all these big hitter like exclusives, and like that's quite often referred to as like the last kind of golden age of the PlayStation with the PS4 generation. I'm of the opinion that it's kind of one of those, like, you don't realize you're in the good days till they're over. So yeah. I don't think it's something where we could say, oh yeah, this is it. That like we're, I think objectively you could look at certain games and say like, oh, we've had some really great games. I mean, it happens every year though. Amazing games come out, and then everyone's like, there's nothing out this year. And I'm like, no, there was. So I think this is like a hard one, but he says at the end here, Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2 on the beach are both incoming and bound to be excellent, likely to move a few consoles. Add to that the seemingly imminent GTA 6, and we can't see casual consumers running out to buy an Xbox in 2025. That's Cale firing shots. I didn't even see it. I almost like stopped myself there when I said that. I was like, God damn,
no,
Cale.
Man, I can take it. I got thick skin. I've had an Xbox for a long time. You have to.
But yeah, I'm gonna go down. I don't know how you really prove this one.
Well, like you say, you can't really understand what good you've got until it's missing. And I think if we look back at just like recent years, we've had some really good games. Like 2023 was firing on all cylinders, and we were thinking we're not going to get a year as good as that. And then 2024 happened, and you got games like Metaphor, Refantasio and stuff. And it's another solid year. So they do say they come in threes. So perhaps that 2025 might be like the cap on the end of it. So this could sneak in as part of a golden age. It might not begin a golden age, because usually, well, you would say that tech usually figures its stuff out near the end of a console's life cycle. But at the same time, a lot of developers are moving on to the next thing. So it's whether or not they choose to prioritize PS5 or move ahead. But he's talking PlayStation, so it could be. It's hard to quantify. So yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
But we can come back to this clip in like 2 years, 3 years time and be like,
how wrong
you silly sack, you were in the good times. Look at me now. So he could be onto something. Maybe he's living in the future.
Maybe. So next up, he's got Judas is released in Q1 2025, and it's a true successor to BioShock. This is the first game from Ghost Story Games, headed up by Ken Levine, who's the creative director in some of the BioShock games and System Shock 2. This was in one of my most anticipated games of the year. Rumor has it it's coming out in March.
Yeah, that's the rumors that I've been.
Yeah,
so
this is very potential in terms of it being a successor to BioShock. I think aesthetically, yes, it's clearly going for that. Like it looks, from what we've seen, they've got the powers, elemental powers, the guns, the wacky kind of robot things and stuff.
It's like religious and political conflicts going on there, which is a running theme throughout the the Bioshock games.
Yeah, the only thing for me is that there was, when they had the previews, I think it was like Jeff Keighley was doing a preview on it for some reason among a handful of other people.
Cyber Jeff.
Big Cyber Jeff, and it was
Yeah.
talk of it being more like procedurally generated roguelike, which does...
You mentioned this.
Yeah, that like, I don't want to say that means it's automatically bad, because one of my favorite games of this generation is Returnal, which is a procedurally generated roguelike,
Yeah.
you know? So,
But
it
then
can be
again,
done.
when you think about games like Bioshock and then games like Returnal, the people are going to hate me for this, but lots of people know Rapture as a very unique character in itself, and the same with God, it slipped my mind. What's it called again?
Atropos.
Columbus. Or
Columbia.
New Columbia. Yeah. Like, they are very, very, very crafted and very deliberate, and it's really hard to just allow it to like spawn a new area. I guess they could do like a Starfield with what Bethesda did and craft some stuff and then like place those in areas and so on. But yeah, the procedural generated stuff I don't think lines up the same as it would with Returnal. That being said, Ken Levine, man's got skills. Man can cook. Man knows what he's doing. So you know, I don't doubt that they're gonna do something good. But Q1,
I'm going to remain hopeful, because it's the rumor I've been hearing for a while is that it's coming out earlier in the year, and obviously we haven't really. It would be a quick turnaround though, because at this point it's only 2.5 months till we're the end of 2 and a bit months till we're the end of March. But I think it's possible. I totally agree with you though. Like, when you think of Bioshock games, you think of the settings, you know. So
you do.
I'm gonna go up.
You remember? Yeah,
I'm gonna go up. Is it a single? Is it a single? I'm gonna go the single.
Yeah,
the single
I'll
as
go with
well.
single as well. I like how we've developed definite. Yeah,
We're on our way.
This is the new.
Yeah, we're on our way to like a 10-point system with these thumbs.
Yeah.
Lastly, from KO, he's got Sid Meier's Civilization 7 is a breakout success for the series. I have never played a Civilization game. I saw some stuff for this. I thought that looks kind of cool. Maybe I'll check it out. I'm imagining there's a lot of people thinking that.
Well, there definitely is a lot of people thinking that. Civ 7 was announced at Summer Games Fest on opening night. I was very grateful to be in the room at the time. Yeah, I feel like I talk about this all the time because it's like the only really big event that I've gone to. But I was in the room at the time and like listening to people and just hearing them, because you could feel like the vibrations of the room and the roars and stuff, and it was quite loud in there, but you could hear people's like bass in their voices, and that one was stirring up some stuff, so I can imagine it's gonna do really well. But as for a breakout, I think, well, Civ 6 did great, so I don't know how you break out from something that's already great.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good. I don't doubt it's gonna be fantastic. I played a little bit of Civ 6. I always consider it the old man game when I'm feeling a bit like, you know what, my bones hurt. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna play some Civ 6. I'm gonna put my slippers on. It's not one of those games you think is like a really exciting one, but they're very, very good at what they do. And if they continue everything that they did in 6 with all the DLC and stuff, I think 7's just going to be fantastic. I don't think it's going to be a breakout, but I think it'll be great.
Because I don't know really anything about it, I'm just going to go 1. I don't have the full confidence to say. So I think it'll be popular.
I'm going to go no.
Whoa.
Because it's not a breakout success. It's going to be good.
Okay.
It's going to be good. Yeah. This looks very conflicting, but it's going to be good.
Craig hates Civilization, confirmed?
There's your thumbnail.
Okay, we're moving on to Liam Croft, assistant editor at Push Square. His first prediction is Resident Evil 9 is announced for a 2026 launch. I think I think you could bet money on this one, because when was it? 2022, Resident Evil Village came out. 2023, that Resident Evil 4 remake came out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Comments will tell us. Tell us.
Tell us in the comments. I'm pretty sure it was early 2023. So it's been a while. We've had nearly at this point 3 years since Ori 8 came out, and usually these launch in the earlier half of the year. Usually we hear about them before the new year, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So I think we will hear about this, possibly even at the Game Awards or something in December. We hear about that, and it's like, it's coming out in March, you know? I think, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. I still haven't played 8, despite being like, I was hyped for it, and I thought, nah, I'm holding off because the VR version will come out because I played 7 in VR. And then it did. And I was like, cool. Never, like, I played the intro, but I've just never, like, found the time to, like, sit down and properly play it. So
I like the idea. I love the moldy trilogy. That's what I call them.
The moldy trilogy.
Yeah, Ethan, the everyday man. He literally his like he's no Leon. If we get Resi 9 and Leon's back again, I know Resi 4 wasn't that long ago, and it was so good because Leon is the goodest boy. Goodest boy. But you know, I would like to not have another moldy game for a bit. I would like to have Leon back because whenever Ethan does anything, he like punches someone and he's just like, yeah, suck it. And it's like, where's the cheesy one-liners that Leon is so great at? I could see this happening in the 2026 launch. Like you say, it's probably likely you can hold them up. It's probably likely that it'll be announced during the Game Awards because I know Jeff likes them. I think they've done that historically as well. So there were a lot of rumors out there. I remember loads of tweets of just people trying to get attention. But they all kind of had a similar story, which, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But it just looks like maybe Leon will be back. So, you know, 2026, I'm excited. I'm hopeful. But yes, it's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up for me. Easy.
I'm gonna go 2. I'm
gonna go 2. I think it's about time.
So.
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah.
I'll commit. It's about time for Resi 9, and it's also about time I did double.
Who's gonna be the first one to get the double thumbs down? Who knows with that one?
Didn't I do a double thumbs down on your OLED? I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, you did actually. Somehow.
You sat in the room with
us. Next up, we've got Death Stranding 2 on the Beach earns the highest Metacritic rating of any PS5 game released this year. To clarify a little bit more, the passage of time has been kind to Death Stranding, a game that was misunderstood by many upon its original PS4 release. The first game is a Metacritic rating at 82, rising to 85 with the PS5 Director's Cut. 6 years later, I think we all have a much better grasp of what Hideo Kojima is going for with the series, and so Death Stranding 2 will be far better received than the first. I do think I do agree with some of that, with like, because I remember the lead up to Death Stranding 2, like all the way up to launch, everyone was like, what is Death Stranding? Like, what do you do? You know, and I think there was a lot of like questions and queries around that. So literally, now we do have everything.
Every time, all you'll hear is, I don't want to play a delivery man simulator. And it's like, well, you don't know what it's about. I recently completed Death Stranding after so many times of like picking it up and stopping and picking it up and stopping. And I think that's a very normative thing that people do with Death Stranding. But once it gets its hooks in you, you understand that it's an experience. It's more than that. And like, I could get deeply emotional about why I love it and why I think it's a decent shout to say that it's going to be rated very high, Death Stranding 2. But I'm already going to disagree with this one. I'm going to firmly disagree with this one. Mainly because, like, as good as it's going to be, if GTA 6 does get released, if we're going to talk about that, and we're going to acknowledge the fact that GTA 6 could slip into 2026. So if it does, you know, Death Stranding 2 would have a better shot. But even if it did slip into 2026, I don't think it's going to be the highest rated game. I just know that it's going to score high. I think Metacritic was like 82, 85 for the director's cut, which is the funner version, as Kojima put out. It was too real around COVID time, so he decided to add a bit more fun. So if he's leaning into that, then he's got himself a great game with Death Stranding 2. But the reason why I don't think it's going to be the best game of the highest Metacritic rating. Obviously, this is critics. This is like myself and Aaron. This is VGC. This is IGN. This is the initial reviews. So it's the score from us. But if we're looking at games that could come out in 2025, like we'll have the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima that had 83%. So if Yotei's anywhere near that, it could give it a run for its money. But I will say, if GTA 6 does come out, GTA 5 was 97%. Civ 6, that game that we were just talking about, that had 88%. So if Civ 7 is anything like that, which it could be, it's already higher than Death Stranding. And then you're also getting Indiana Jones, which is, in my opinion, a phenomenal game. I know Pure Xbox, we voted a bit lower, but I played it over the Christmas, and I think it's a great game. So as much as Death Stranding 2 is going to be brilliant, I could see it being squeezed out by one other game, which I haven't mentioned yet, but we'll get there.
Okay. I will say that even though there's the potential of it being rated higher because we all have a better understanding of it, Hideo Kojima is still Hideo Kojima, and that does not blend with everyone, including myself. I like the gameplay. I do not like the story. So like that, there's going to be plenty of people that go either way, like don't like the gameplay, like the story. I think there's always, or like both, or don't like any of it.
Don't like any of it. It's just a
I think Hideo Kojima is a kind of auteur in that sense, which is like I like it when people make like art that doesn't need to be something for everyone. So I think that could impact things as well. So I'm gonna go double down. I'm gonna go double down for this one.
Double down
actually.
For us on this one. It's gonna be rated high. I don't doubt, but it's just definitely not going to be the highest Metacritic. I'll eat my hat. Someone knitted this for me, and I'll eat it. So I don't really want to. But I'll segue into the next one, just mainly because this is also why I don't think, if this next one comes true, Hollow Knight Silksong, right? A long time coming. It was announced February 2019. There's a big old waiting list. It's like 6 years coming up. In fact, in a couple of days, it's 6 years like from its announcement. So if Team Cherry do, get it finally out there, Hollow Knight scored a whopping 90%. So if Silksong is anything like Hollow Knight, it doesn't sound like a game that should beat it on paper, because it's like Hollow Knight in itself is just 2D platformer sort of thing.
Yeah. But
it's gorgeous, and it's so good that ultimately Hollow Knight will just be Death Stranding 2. Like if Silksong comes out, I'm just saying.
I remember actually reading about Silksong on a magazine of Edge at my last flat where before I moved here. So like it's been and I'm not really, I'd never played Hollow Knight.
How many years ago was that?
That was, well, I mean, it's been 2 years since I moved. So but yeah, I think this last one is solid. I don't know much about this one in all honesty, so I'm gonna give it 1 because I can't confirm, but I do agree with your sentiment though. Like if something like that comes out, I feel like the highest rated games are always the more unexpected ones like this. So
usually smaller games that do something really well.
Yeah, exactly.
Rate higher, and even though like majority wise the numbers might be different, so like 20,000 play this one game and 10,000 play this other game, it doesn't really matter when it comes to critic reviews. So I would say that Silksong releasing, what do you reckon?
6 years is a long ass time. I'm gonna say like, come on, hurry up.
I think it's about time. I mean, these hand-drawn games do take time, and I remember Cuphead, waiting for that, and I think it was like 8 years before Cuphead came out. So 6 years. There's still time for this one to cook. But I'm optimistic, and at this point, if it's not a thumbs up, then I might as well just stop.
May as well just eat
We've got to want for something, right?
Okay, so next up, we're moving on to Robert Ramsey, assistant editor at Push Square. His first prediction is that Starfield comes to PS5 as some kind of complete edition later in the year. I thought this was going to happen last year, in all honesty. I thought we were going to see this at the year mark when Shattered Space came out, and it did not happen. I feel like this is a lock-in.
This feels like a lock-in. It does.
Yeah.
It does, absolutely. I think expecting it to release on PS5 with the first DLC, Shattered Space, would be silly, because it's a first party Xbox release. It's a Bethesda game. you'd want it to, especially when it's like shipped as a flagship title for Xbox. I remember looking at the marketing around Xbox and the pictures that were on like the consoles, and they clearly shifted from like Halo and Gears to Starfield. So this was their main slice, and to the idea of like Shad Space releasing it with PS5, it didn't make sense. But you know, a complete edition of Starfield launching onto PS5 in 2025 with other Bethesda games like Indiana Jones. I mean, it's Machine Games, but it's Bethesda produced. You've got Indiana Jones, and you've got Doom, the Dark Ages headed your way as well. So it's not like a Bethesda game being on PS5 is any strange thing. And it's been a couple of years now, so I think Starfield landing on PS5 makes for a decent and compelling argument. I will say I'll be bitter when it gets PS5 Pro enhanced and it's better on PS5, but you know, I'm trying to get in my mind that it's just a good thing that more people get to play these great games, and Xbox aren't being silly giving away all of their pieces. But yes, I can see it happening, and I think it would be a good shout. It does indicate that there's more DLC coming, and they indicated that there would be, but this was before Shattered Space, and Shattered Space was quite frankly not great. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I think I'm going double thumbs up for that one. Next one up, we've got Jin Sakai will be playable in Ghost of Yotei through a flashback sequence. Just to clarify this one a little bit more, let's see what Robert says. He says, yep, I think Jin Sakai will return in Ghost of Yotei, but given the sequel takes place over 300 years after the events of Tsushima, our boy will be long dead. With that in mind, I'm betting that Yotei's story will have ties to the events of the first game. Jin's transformation into the ghost will be referenced as a kind of shadowy folktale with new protagonist Atsu seeking inspiration from the legend. By extension, there'll be a flashback where you take control of an overpowered, mythical-like Jin, and maybe it ends with Atsu adopting the ghost name and legacy in order to help her achieve her goals. And here's an extra prediction for you: Atsu will at some point come to inherit Sakai's katana.
This is very, very reasonable.
So I'm split. I'm split in all honesty. I think we will have a reference to the events of Tsushima by somebody's like, oh, this thing that happened in this island 300 years ago, And I do agree that there'll be potentially narrative links like that. I don't know about the whole plane thing. Because I'd said in one of my previous videos, making this an anthology series is one of the most interesting things they could have done with it. And I think like doubling down on that to like make this its own thing would be quite special. But I don't know. I don't know. I think we will hear something about Jin Sakai. I don't think we'll play as him personally. What about you?
Well, he's going to be a legend. He's going to be the ghost.
Yeah.
And considering this is a ghost of, I think, considering it happened before, 300 years before, Hollow Knight Silksong still hasn't released at this point, but, you would reference something in the history of what you're about to become as Atsu, because you are drawing from a line of people who, I guess, dropped their sensibilities, dropped their honor to become this force of destruction. I think there will be references. I can see the katana being passed on. I like the idea of this thing being like, hey, here's a little segment where it's all action. It could even be like the prologue, where it's just how badass it becomes, and like this is the
somebody
story
telling
that
the story to like
hearing.
a young like I could imagine them doing like the protagonist that we play is like a young kid hearing the story of Jin Sakai. I can't. Maybe
because it would open up options to them in their mind, being like, how do I deal with this threat? So I can see it happening. I would say this is quite likely. I do like the idea that it would be anthology or just separate and all that sort of stuff. But I don't mind a nod. It's always good when you like watch a Pixar film and you see like the Pizza Planet car, It's nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can see that happening. I can imagine loads of people will turn into Leonardo DiCaprio and be like, oh. So I'm gonna say a 1 thumbs up. I would like it to happen.
I will go 1 thumbs up because I do think there'll be mention, but I don't think that it'll be playable personally. But we'll see. I'll eat my hat. I'll have to find it for when that happens.
Buy a hat and eat it.
Buy a hat
yourself
and eat
an edible hat and make life easy for you.
Yeah, exactly. Lastly, from Rob, we've got the Final Fantasy IX remake is revealed, built on Unreal Engine. I do not know anything about Final Fantasy IX. Do you?
I do. It's one of my favorite Final Fantasies. Robert has said that, you know, it's based on an old NVIDIA leak that this remake of Final Fantasy IX was going to be unearthed at some point. And it's been a long time since that leak. I can't remember when it happened off the top of my head, but it's been a long time. Those NVIDIA leaks were interesting. I think there was a lot to eat out of them. So I don't see this as too far of a stretch as something to happen. Final Fantasy IX is also one of those Final Fantasies that I think when we look back at why they're doing 7 and stuff like that, everyone's asking the question. It's like, well, 9 was great and it was very unique. When are we going to have that? And we've had like an upscaled, like not remaster, but just like a better version of it in recent in years gone. But I have seen loads of fan remakes of this as well, like people wanting it to happen because of this NVIDIA leak and because of the rumors and so on. So I can see that this might happen. But there's also rumors, and I am completely going off topic here. But sort of. It's like for the developer direct, there is a secret game that's coming up in January soon. There's a secret game that hasn't been announced, and they have been cozying up. Microsoft has been cozying up with Square Enix. I don't think it's going to be the one, but I would be optimistic and I would like it to be. But there's a chance, there's rumors that it's going to be coming from a Japanese developer, someone that they've become cushy with. So, you know, Final Fantasy IX, what a statement that would be.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, if it was as well, that would tick all the boxes of why you should be excited. So it would be nice. It would be nice. I'm not sure about 2025, but I would like it to be. And I would like it to be real.
For your educated thumbs rating, where are you going?
I'm going to go for a single up. A single up.
I'll agree with you because I do not know anything about this game. Moving on to Sammy Barker, our editor at Push Square. His first one, I'm going to read this one out fully. We've got Sony will announce a game playable on PS5, PC, and mobile. I'm increasingly of the opinion that gaming's future hinges on having access to all of your games everywhere, but I think PlayStation will take a slightly more subtle path to that goal than Microsoft has. I'm predicting that at some point in 2025, the platform holder will announce, not necessarily release, some kind of game which spans PS5, PC, and mobile. It'll be a live service title published by the platform holder, and you'll be able to transfer your progress seamlessly between all 3 devices by using your PSN login, with all of your activities stored in the cloud. I think this is very, like, Sony has indicated a lot of interest in mobile. They had their own like division made, but they did also shut one down this year. I swear that happened at some point in 2024. But yeah, I think like it's easy to write off mobile when you're like just kind of ignorant to the facts of like how big it can be. Yeah. Especially over to the east, like it's very, very popular with console prices are just like so insane. It's just like not really feasible for a lot of places. So mobile gaming becomes like the go-to thing. And I think with Sony being over in Japan, like it kind of makes sense, like for them to focus on markets around there, you know, like to really capitalize on that market, because it's huge. It's enormous. It's when, and we've seen kind of things like that as well recently with like Zenless Zone Zero, because that's on mobile as well, is it not? Yeah, I believe so. Like we've already kind of seen some things where it's going across from mobile to console. So I think, I would not be surprised if something like this happened. I don't know like what it would be. Like, would it be its own new thing, or would it be tied into a franchise we already know? You know.
They've
I'm not
definitely ported games to PC. That's something that they've recently started doing more frequently with like the with certain games.
We've got like The Last of Us Part 2
Yeah.
remasters is coming to PC, I think, pretty soon. Last of Us Part, like they basically do like a 2-year rotation of like if it's a single player kind of thing, first party single player game, it's going to be roughly 2 years before it's on PC. If it's multiplayer, from here on out, it's going to be day and date, like Helldivers 2 was.
Well, that's exactly my point as well. Is if it's going to happen, it will be a multiplayer game, like you say. I was trying to get towards the fact that when PS5 release a game, I remember statements from someone saying, "Why would we do it at the same time with PC? Because then there wouldn't be as much of a pull to just play it exclusively on your PS5, and that's where they want their audience. So if it's going to be anything, it'll be multiplayer. But that also falls in line with mobile gaming, which is undeniably a very important market, and it's a growing market because of where people play games nowadays. The younger generations are playing mobile games. They're playing with accessories to like the razor and the backbone and stuff like that. It's becoming a more common thing. I think for folks like us, where we have grown up with our libraries being on our consoles and our PCs, that it feels a bit alien to us. So it feels like it's coming out of left field, but it's just the fact that these markets are growing, and I can see it being a really solid strategy. Like you said with Microsoft, it might be a bit more subtle, but I think ignoring mobile is a mistake, and Sony would be wise to do it. So I would definitely agree with this one. I would double thumbs up it, really. I would say that a multiplayer game from Sony that releases on all three is very likely in 2025.
Concord's coming back, but it's on mobile.
Well, it's on Amazon.
Next up, he's got GTA 6 will have modular multiplayer maps. It will have a modular multiplayer map, allowing Rockstar to change parts of the city. I think there's a good chance GTA 6 gets delayed, but at the very least, I anticipate we'll learn a lot more about the game this year. One thing I'm predicting is that the game's multiplayer mode will feature a modular sandbox in which Rockstar can change and alter for seasonal content. GTA 5 repurposed Los Santos for its online mode, but I think over time it got a little tired. I'm expecting elements of GTA 6 single player map to be used in multiplayer, but I think Rockstar will be able to swap in entire new districts and city segments at will, allowing it to completely change the flavour of the open world for various events and updates. Think about how Fortnite's map changes and evolves over the course of a season, and you should get the gist of what I'm imagining here.
Well,
yeah, I think this is solid because I mean, I think GTA Online became the hit that it was because there was nothing necessarily like it at the time of that scale, and obviously that has stood the test of time. I think it's quite dated now, but it's still going. Like, people are still playing it. It's still getting updates 10 years down the line. When in a world where we're getting games that are shutting down after 2 weeks or 6 months or a year, you know, to have something that's going 10 years strong, like, I mean, it shows how like tapped in Rockstar are. And obviously I don't think they're going to be able to just come back with GTA 5, but it's a more detailed map. It's a bit bigger. And I think something like this could be really, really feasible. I mean, we've seen, like you're saying, with Fortnite, like they're switching out different maps, adding things to maps. And
there's
even
that Lego City as well, which I recently played, and it was just a role-playing sandbox where you just live your life as a little Lego man. And I was like, all right, but you can understand the vision if you put the time in, and I bought a house and I made my mate move in next door, and he bought a house next to me. And like this idea that we all share this map that has events on it, like Fortnite, areas in which like a gig can happen. GTA 6 would make sense to tap into that, especially considering that it's supposed to be this living and breathing world that I remember very early on they were talking about this like modular kind of map, or like a season or years past, you know, like the building in GTA 5 that's been constructed for the decades it's been erect for, but now in this new GTA 6 map, buildings like that would be built, but it makes sense it would just be Here's an update. We all share this map, like a Warzone map or something like that. But this feels like a no-brainer. It feels like this is the way that gaming has gone, and if everybody can join in at the same time with a new event, then that's going to do well for social media buzz and survivability of a game. So yeah,
I think it would be really cool as well, because like just a memory came back to me there of GTA 5 when you were like, you finally bought the nice apartment with the wall to the ceiling to floor windows, and like being able to like go, come back to my place and stuff. And I think like obviously it was pretty simplistic in that, like in terms of what you could do in that place or whatever. But like, you know, the idea of like having your own home and like maybe even neighborhoods within like the map, and it advancing and moving, and like maybe they go like, oh well, here's like this new place with like new developments that you can move into. And I know they kind of done that with 5, but yeah, I think I double thumbs up. That's a two double from Sammy. Let's see if we get it for the last one then. Microsoft becomes the biggest publisher on PS5 by far. With Activision and Bethesda already under its belt, Xbox is already one of the biggest publishers on PS5. But I think because so much of its content remains console exclusive, it's been kneecapped. I expect that to change in 2025, as I'm anticipating the vast majority of its slate to end up on Sony's system. I think bandwidth was a big issue for Xbox in 2024, with many of its studios still not geared to develop for multiple platforms. I predict it'll have fixed that behind the scenes, and we're not only going to see ports for past titles like Forza Horizon 5 and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 this year, but also day one releases for the vast majority of its lineup. I think some of these games have the potential to blow up on PS5's much larger install base, much like Sea of Thieves has. And when you combine all of that with the obligatory annual Call of Duty release, I think Microsoft will be PS5's biggest publisher in 2025.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Sammy, as much as he writes about Sony, I think he spends a lot of his time thinking about Xbox. But there is weight to this, obviously, with Xbox's this is an Xbox market, you know, marketing that's going on, where your Xbox games are playable on the devices that you want to play on. It's not unlikely that most games released on Xbox will just come out on PS5 now. I think it's a tough pill to swallow when you're trying to be the person that's excited for the console that's giving stuff away, but in my opinion, it's gonna happen. I mean, we've got rumors already. If we're talking about Microsoft specific games that are coming to PS5, there's rumor that the Master Chief Collection and Gears Ultimate Edition are going to be heading over, as well as Forza maybe. But you've already got stuff like Sea of Thieves, and these are the Microsoft game, like Xbox Game Studio games that I'm looking at. And I think the biggest little thing that I've got, this little thing, is that Microsoft itself is Xbox Game Studios, whereas Activision and Bethesda are publishers in their own right. So if we're going to say publisher on PS5, I wouldn't say Microsoft would be the biggest one. I'd say the collective would be. But yeah, it's not too far. It's not too far from the truth there, my guy.
I think we will see some of the like past releases. Obviously, we already talked about Starfield, and I can see things like Forza Horizon 5, and we're talking about Master Chief Collection and Gears of War Ultimate Edition
as well.
Yeah. I can see a lot of that happening. I don't think we're going to see day and date releases just yet, personally.
No.
I don't think, you know, if like Gears of War E-Day comes out in 2025, I don't think that's going to drop on PlayStation the same time. I think you're going to get either something like Indiana Jones, which is like 6 months, let's say, between them, or more like a year. I think a year. I personally think like a year's reasonable, you know, in terms of like, I do think eventually we're going to get to the point that Sammy's talking about. I think eventually like we will work towards that. But right now, considering we only had the 4 games last year and then 1 new game announced, like it's not going to be like okay, open the floodgates, everything's coming this year. I think we're going to get more games in 2025. I don't think we're going to get every game in 2025. No. So
I think as well, Microsoft Xbox Game Studios will start with their older stuff as well. Like you say, there'll be a window. I think Satya Nadella, chief exec at Microsoft, he recently said that exclusives on Xbox is going to be the exception. It's not going to be the rule. So it's one of these shifts in strategy with Xbox that it doesn't make it too far of a stretch from the truth that we're going to see a lot of these games on Xbox and PC and PlayStation specifically. But I do think it will always be, they'll come out first on Game Pass to sell subscriptions, and they'll have a limited window with perks to why you would get them on Game Pass. But then after a certain amount of time, like 6 months or a year, they would come out on PS5. So I don't think it's going to be day one releases unless multiplayer. Well,
they
like
still
Call
have
of Duty.
they still have to make money. They still have to sell to give you a reason to buy Game Pass, you know, and like we know from Sony as well, like exclusivity sells. And I think that's part of the kind of the issue that I've had with Microsoft's whole thing. So I do think there's still reason for them to say, like, this new game's coming out and you can only get it on Game Pass for the next year, you know?
Yeah, that's going to happen. Like, Unfortunately, though, I can see it as well. Like, games get better with a bit of a gestation period, like a bit of like out there in the public. That there's going to be a new narrative that will spin that games are just better on PS5. Like Starfield, when it launched, it was a buggy mess. There was a lot going on. And if you get Starfield in 2025, you're getting this polished version. So it will review higher. And then folks will be like, games are better on PS5. I can see that happening, but
I think that definitely will. So I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give this one thumbs up. I'm not going all the way with it.
I'm gonna be a little fickle boy and say that Microsoft itself is not the publisher with Activision and Bethesda. So they are all themselves different publishers. If we're gonna say the biggest publisher on PS5, then I'm gonna give it a single down. Just because they're all individual publishers, but Xbox Game Studios themselves, their new releases are going to stick with them for a while, might even slip into 2026, but you will definitely see some Xbox Game Studios coming to PS5 in 2025.
Lastly, we're moving on to Stephen Tailby, assistant editor at Push Square. His first prediction is that we'll spy our first glimpse of Project 007 this year. That's the upcoming game from IO Interactive, developers of the Hitman series, or the Hitman remakes. And man, I'm really hoping so. I kind of thought we were going to see it last year, or even like I'm sure I even thought like late 2023. I was even thinking we would see it. I'm dying to see this game. I think this could be the year.
I haven't got a clue.
You haven't got a clue?
I haven't got a clue. I didn't even know a 007 game was being developed by Hitman developers. I didn't know.
Well, it's very exciting, and I think Hitman 3, which was the last one, came out in roughly 2020 or 2021. So it's been a while. It's been a while since they announced this game, since they moved on from Hitman. Obviously, Hitman development was continuing for a while after, because we got like the freelancer mode, and we're getting like the VR ports as well.
The world of Hitman.
The world of Hitman and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't think Steven says this is here as well, that he's not necessarily saying that it'll launch this year. No. But the team has been tinkering away at this for nearly half a decade, so the timing does feel right to get some kind of trailer, maybe a 2026 release date. But I would love it even if it did just do one of those, like, because like it's ready and it's coming out in 6 months or something. So
who doesn't love a little bit of James Bond? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, exactly. I think this could be
shaken not stirred. 2025. See a bit of gameplay. Yes, please. But I have no idea. I have no idea.
I'm gonna go double. I'm gonna go double for this one.
Am I even allowed to vote?
just a singular up. Just a singular up for our man Steve. Yeah, there we go. His second vote. His second prediction was that Team Asobi isn't quite done with Astro Bot just yet. Let me read into this one a little bit more. The brilliant platformer launched last year and received several free updates, adding new levels with special bots to collect. With the additional levels included, most of the copyrighted notices in the game's credit makes sense, but there are still a couple that possibly hint to more to come. Man's going deep on this one. As far as I can work out, Assassin's Creed and Beyond Good and Evil are the only series mentioned in the Astro Bot credits that do not currently appear in the game. It's possible that these were considered and then fell through, but another likelihood is that characters from these franchises will appear in future updates. More puzzling, though, is that Gex, a character found in the festive themed DLC stage, is not currently mentioned in the credits. While probably an oversight, this does mean games and publishers not brought up are still in the running, and we all know a certain RPG series from a certain Japanese publisher is still MIA. What does it all mean? I reckon Astro Bot will get one or two more bonus stages squeezing in the Final Fantasy characters that's sorely missing and throw in those aforementioned Ubisoft reps for good measure.
Well, that was a lot to unpack.
Guy, I love just the idea of Steven like cracking the code, going through the credits, like, wait a minute.
This man just sees the code. He could be onto something with the Final Fantasy. And let me tell you why. If we dial all the way back to our good boy, Mr. Robert Ramsey, he also thinks that Final Fantasy IX could be revealed this year. So, if we're going to look at marrying up those things, firstly, I think Team Asobi are definitely not done because Astro Bot's fantastic. The haptic feedback in the controller, it's amazing. But, you know, just the game itself, such a wonderful game. I don't think that, you know, it'd be wise to just leave it and just keep adding these little things to like challenges and stuff and characters. It makes sense. But Final Fantasy, yeah, if one of them comes true, the other one will too. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I can't see them being done. Like it's only been like 3-4 months since the game came out, and like people like
game of the year to
Jeff. Yeah,
Jeff's
like,
game of the year.
We like we like these little additional levels. People seem to be enjoying them. So I mean, it's a good way to sort of live serviceify a single player game as well, like to give people reasons to go back to it. So I think this stands.
Live serviceify. Someone's been watching Wicked.
We for Steven's. Oh wait, we didn't give a rating. I'm gonna go double up. I'm going double up.
We're going double
one.
up. Yeah.
I'm going two double ups, Steven. What
yeah,
guy.
Come on, man. Team Astro Bot, easy. Do not give that game up. Keep going. Just keep chugging along. Make some new stuff so I can have a sensory overload when I'm scattering all these little beads off the table as my favorite Final Fantasy character.
The beads, the bit with the gems falling down, I just sat spinning in that for so long, just watching them go everywhere. So Steven's last prediction is EA will announce an arcade racing game, and it's either a Burnout revival or a Need for Speed remaster. He says he's been pining for Burnout to make its triumphant comeback for so long. I'd love to see EA take my favourite racing series out for another spin with a fresh, modern game, though admittedly I'd equally take a remastered Burnout 3 takedown and all will be forgiven. A rumour from about a year ago was that Stellar Entertainment is working on something. Its website states it's making a AAA Unreal Engine 5 arcade racer after all, and it'd be amazing if that's true. Perhaps 2025 is the year we see it. Failing that though, Need for Speed is still relatively popular. Granted, Need for Speed Unbound sort of flopped, which is a shame. This is me interjecting here. It's a good game. But the series ain't dead yet, and there's an interesting pattern that could tell us what's next. Developer Criterion Games has flip-flopped between remasters and new games since the release of Burnout Paradise Remastered, and following Unbound, a remaster of Need for Speed Most Wanted would fit the pattern. It's either that or the franchise looks even further back into the past, perhaps a remaster or remake of Need for Speed Underground 2 or 2005's Most Wanted. Whatever the case, I reckon the publisher will show us an arcade racer of some fashion this year. I love just how like guys just
Steven's
not
a
like
great writer.
Steven's not just like I got a feeling. He's just like I'm gonna start looking up like LinkedIn stuff and searching
Man's
websites.
Out here making us all look bad. When he does research on a prediction, he wants it to come true. So he's gonna look for those slices of evidence, those morsels of bits and bobs that are gonna say it's gonna happen. And to be fair, as soon as we saw the its website states it's making a AAA Unreal Engine 5 arcade racer, then you know, it being a prediction versus some of them saying that it's gonna happen, yeah, I could see it happening.
I think to drop like a AAA, like so AAA Unreal Engine 5, you're talking expensive. To debut a new like racing thing, I don't know. Like so, it obviously seems like a better bet to say it's something like Like, people are always clamoring for those old games. Funnily enough, I never actually played like the old Need for Speed game. I started at Need for Speed Shift
Need
Unleashed.
for Speed Underground 2, man. Riders on the Storm. We gotta go back to the OGs. They were the best ones.
Yeah, because I always hear that, but I actually from like Need for Speed Shift Unleashed onwards, I played almost all of them, if not all of them, since then. But I hadn't played like the OGs back in the day. I'd be there for something like that. You know what? I'll throw in a little extra though. I would like it if, imagine it was something like Split Second. Bring it up like
a Split Second. Let's have another one of that.
Yeah, that's some good stuff, man. But I think in terms of like where the franchise is going, I'm gonna go one. I'm gonna go one that something like this will come out. I'm more thinking from my Need for Speed perspective rather than Burnout. I don't think I've played Burnout. I'm not sure, but Need for Speed, I think, has been in a bit of a kind of downward trajectory with some of their recent releases.
Yeah.
So I think they'd be looking to like we need a win. So I'm gonna go one thumb up.
I would say if they make a remastered Burnout 3 Takedown. If anybody ever says what's the best Burnout game and they don't reply with Burnout 3 Takedown, then they are wrong. But yeah, I would like this to happen. I can see with his reasoning why it would happen. I would imagine it would be a Need for Speed. I just think that that's their flagship, and they would probably keep that going. But you know, we'll see. I'll give this a tentative singular thumbs up because I don't really know too much. I don't play racing games all that often. When I do, it's the Horizon games I really like and the Forza ones. So yeah, I mean, you got a double thumbs up with Astro Bot, so Steven ain't done too bad.
I think everyone got a double thumbs up. Maybe bar myself.
Did you get
my own awarded thumbs up? My own awarded double thumbs up.
I think I might have given you a double thumbs up for the gameplay reveal. So Intergalactic. We'll see.
So those have been 18 PlayStation 5 predictions for the year of 2025. Let us know your own predictions down in the comments. Actually, let us know which ones. What kind of thumbs up rating would you give it? 1 thumbs down, 2 thumbs down, 1 thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. They've got a lot. It's a very advanced system. I know, might be quite hard to get on top of, but let us know what rating you would give the predictions that we went through here today. And I want to thank our boy Craigo for showing up, for chatting.
Look at me showing up and doing things and talking and stuff. It's always great to be on and chatting with you. So yeah, let us know all of your thoughts, even the most unhinged ones. Ones that you know are definitely not going to happen. Feel free to put them in. Put your wish lists in.
PS Vita 2 is coming out next year.
Some juicy goss. Create a new rumor for all you care. Let's go.
Throw something in there. I'll start steamrolling that. I'll throw it out there into the internet.
Aaron will make a video on it soon as crediting you. So but thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
No, it's been good. Right. So I'll see you in the next one, everyone. Bye.
Hurrah!